big flesh-eating monsters, like those features on The Walking Dead. Or, if you're going to say it right, you're only minutes away from AMC's The Walking Dead. AMC's constantly reminding you the show is about to come on. Very excited about that. But The Walking Dead premiered in 2010. Holy cow, there was a time this was not a thing.
It's so weird to think when things started, I was like, oh man, really? 2010?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. It's 6 years ago now. 6 years.
Probably one of the best TV pilots ever made.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can. The show has gone all over the place quality-wise. Narratively has been, like, first half of this season was sort of a disaster at times with the way they treated a certain character. But that pilot was just like, the scope of that, you know, just incredible. From the sort of intimacy of waking up in the hospital bed to walking into the world and seeing everything the way it's gone down.
Oh, you can see Frank Darabont's fingerprints all over it. Frank Darabont did the first season, kind of created the framework this was built on, and then was promptly fired, leading to a long and glorious tradition of Walking Dead showrunners being, well, anyway, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But did you watch it from the beginning?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I read the comics a little bit before the show came on, and I was just like, I like that it doesn't necessarily always follow it per se.
Yeah.
Even though, granted, in the first season, the CDC isn't actually part of it at all, and they alluded to things that the comic actually hasn't alluded to at all. But it was interesting to see like an adaptation that like is trying to be its own thing, while still being as true to the comic, to like pay homage to the fans that like, we know you're the ones that are actually coming in first and making sure that we survive, so that way newcomers come in later and still watch the show. So it's like they did an even balance of that, and like you said, like the first episode with like the half zombie just crawling on the floor and just like you're looking at it, it's like they went this far with just showing gruesome, a corpse just like flaying around on TV, even though it is AMC. Like you don't really see that on TV, even as horrible as Breaking Bad could be, or like, you know, anything else like The Wire. Like they don't go as far and gruesome as The Walking Dead.
Well, we never really had sort of like serialized horror on TV. I mean, we had like things that were kind of like, we had stuff like Tales from the Crypt and Twilight Zone at times, right? But they didn't really have like a running narrative aside from like the Crypt Keeper is this disgusting dude that lives in the basement of some HBO studio. But in terms of like telling a story, and then, you know, I think I forget when, but then we got American Horror Story, which was the first season, which was just as successful, I think. And I think it's like very fascinating to follow a zombie story, but by saying right off the bat, like, we're not really going to trace back how this happened. It just happened. Right. Deal with it.
That's the appeal of The Walking Dead. It's like in most of the zombie movies we actually do get a sense of like what is happening with the rest of the world. Why did the zombie outbreak happen?
There's like the laboratory monkey.
Right, exactly.
Guy,
and even though they don't want to call him Walker.
Sick.
Yeah, that's true.
Or there's always like a teenager mucking around in like the science lab connected to a funeral home, which is like,
but here it's just a lot of people thrust into a situation, surrounded by genuine horror. They figured out great ways to work around the commercial breaks to keep the tension between breaks. They were great at that. They cut around in the story a lot. It was one of the earlier successful examples of short season TV working in America. It was that incredible visual effects work. It was visceral.
It's funny you mentioned the commercial break thing, because I remember watching the first few seasons of True Blood.
Yeah.
And they would just end every episode with like, character walks in a room, you don't see what they're looking at, you hear a scream, black screen, next week on True Blood. Like,
predictable.
Yeah.
It's like how Marty always says, like, maybe we're the Walking Dead. Like that's actually the appeal of the show. Like you don't, the zombies, the walkers, whatever you want to call them, are definitely like an appeal to the show. But learning how like Shane and Rick have to now live together again, now that he thought that Rick died and he took Lori and was like being the father figure. So, oh wait, no, the husband's still alive. You gotta deal with this. Like, it's so interesting.
It's like trying to raise a family under a hornet's nest.
Yeah, it is.
And you're like, we're trying to talk, and you're like, ah, damn it. And
a very lethal hornet's nest. That's the other part. This is an ensemble cast show, and I think there are 3 characters left alive from the initial season.
Well, they do that kind of amazing thing where they like pick up a few, kill off a few, pick up a few, kill off a few.
And they make it work sometimes, especially in that beginning show. It's a neat experiment in television.